Thanks for staying tuned to your station, the Africa Independent Television, and welcome to your program, Security Watch Africa. Only on this channel and on this program, we'll bring you the information you need to keep your life safe and secured. Welcome to your program. My name still remains Patrick Abambo. Today, we'll be continuing from where we stopped last week. It was a very interesting session last week. Today, we are going to do more justice to the issue of rape in our country, Nigeria, and all over the world, because like someone told me during the week, rape is now a global pandemic, with so many countries witnessing one rape cases every second of the day. But today we have the guests who were with me last week here with me already to look at those issues. But that will be after our report from Nigeria. But first, I would like to join the House of Representatives of National Assembly of Nigeria to congratulate Deputy Commissioner of Police Abba Kyari. He was honored just on Thursday at the Hallowed Chambers of the National Assembly for his gallantry, for what he has been doing to ensure that criminals do not swing and continue to commit a crime in the country. I would say kudos to my friend, my brother, DCP Abba Kyari. He has been he has won so many awards from Security Watch Africa, so we are not surprised. Even when he was not yet known, we recognized him as far back as 2012. Today, all over the world, he's known for what he's doing. I'd say congratulations, DCP Abba Kyari. Yes, let's go straight to the report from the Nigerian Army. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Yusuf Buratai, since March, was relocated, temporarily relocated to the front line of the insurgents and terrorism fights that he's talking about in the Northeast. And since then, he's been out of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, and he came back and he decided to brief his commander-in-chief on what he met on ground and what he left there. Sit back as we bring you this report.
The Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, has commended the Nigerian Army for their gallantry and commitment in their various operations nationwide. He gave this commendation during the visit of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Yusuf Buratai, at the presidential villa to brief the President on his activities since his temporary relocation to the Northeast.
I came in from the Northeast to brief Mr. President of the 2 months I've stayed there on what transpired, and I've given him details of what the troops are doing, what we have achieved, and what we hope to achieve in the nearest future. But so far, so good. Even before I came, Mr. President has been getting briefings, been getting reports on what is happening in the Northeast especially. So with this brief that I gave him this morning, is further confirmation of what he has been receiving. And so far, so good. He's impressed with the performance of the troops in the Northeast, and the efforts put so far has paid off, and we will continue to deal with the situation not only in the Northeast but also across the country. Tremendous success has been achieved, and we are very happy with what is going on the ground.
General Buratai used the visit to highlight the achievements of the Nigerian Army in the Northeast.
Over 1,429 of these Boko Haram terrorists have been neutralized, and we have arrested over 116 Boko Haram terrorist informants, their spies, and their couriers on logistics, and they are coordinators in the villages, in towns, and even in the forests. So this is a tremendous achievement.
The Army helmsman spoke on the high morale of his officers and soldiers and acknowledged the contribution of the Civilian Joint Task Force JTF and other arms of the armed forces and sister agencies.
Our intelligence corps, along with the Department of State Services, and of course our good friends, the Civilian JTF, have worked very hard to see that this is achieved. And I assure you, things will continue to improve as the days go by. The troops' morale is very high. It's something of confidence, something of trust, is something that will raise the spirit of any officer or soldier when he sees his Chief of Army Staff in the trenches along with him. And this has raised the morale of the troops, and this has made them to put in their best, and that's what has resulted in us so far, and it's still ongoing. I've been in the front there, and I'm happy to state that we have very loyal officers, very loyal soldiers, very courageous soldiers. While in the field there, some of them are even ready to stand between me and the bullet. They're ready to take the bullet for me. So I'm very much impressed and happy with my officers and soldiers. This is to show the level of morale that the troops have when I was there. And I will continue to be with them, to continue to raise their morale.
Shirley Daniels, Security Watch Africa, Abuja.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is your program Security Watch Africa, only on this channel, the Africa Independent Television. You can join us on live streaming. Right now you can watch us via the Facebook, our Facebook fan page, Security Watch Africa, or via YouTube, Security Watch Africa on YouTube. Both medium, you can watch us as we come to you live. Yes, like I said at the opening, I have my guest from last week already here in the studio. We're going to continue from where we stopped. On my right, it's Dr. Chukwuemeka Kanebi. It's a familiar face already now. We'll be talking with him again. And Barrister Ezekiah Uchenna Ivoke. Barrister Ezekiah is the principal counsel of SD King.
SD King, yeah.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, my pleasure.
All right, last week we stopped on a note. Some people say it was getting more interesting now because you brought an angle which the doctor disagreed about the issue of what could lead, one of the things that could lead to somebody being raped. You talked about possibly provocative dressing. Can you expatiate on that now?
Okay. I understand the reason why doctor wants to disagree. But I will assure him that my position in saying that provocative dressing could be one of the causes for rape is even backed by law. It would be surprising to understand that today. You see, the VAP Act itself acknowledges the fact that someone by the way he appears or by the way she appears could lure another person or harass another person sexually or try to incite another person to want to have sexual attraction with him or her. So for that reason, I am saying that provocative dressing can lead to sexual harassment and associated offenses.
Okay.
And it is even criminal to dress in some forms. If a person dresses in such a way that a part of his body, particularly, or her body, particularly his or her genital parts, are either exposed or partially exposed, then this person has committed an offense, even without saying anything to anyone, even without doing anything. He has committed an offense.
That's the position of the law.
That's the position of the law.
Okay, yeah, because some of us may not know that this is already captured in the law.
Of course.
But there are cases where one of those who dress very covering everywhere and yet they are raped. Or what about some minors also being raped? Because I don't know, I will come to you, brother, but let me take Doctor, you've heard what he says about the law now.
I have. I think it's veering towards the statement of indecent exposure or exhibitionism. These are criminal acts.
Yes.
But this can never be an excuse. I think that's what he's trying to clarify. Yeah. He's also speaking because I'm sure he might also be a defendant's lawyer. So he could also argue the case that this could have been things that triggered, maybe to get a lesser sentence and all of that. But like I said, as a service provider to my client will always be who the victim is, the survivor of rape, and so we don't even go into these domains of what could have triggered it. For us, a crime has been done to my client, and I'm supposed to provide medical care and assist them in any other way that the legal structure would need any evidence from us, and that's what we're supposed to do. That's the domains in which I'm confined.
Okay, let me still remain with you, Doctor.
Yeah.
A case where a minor is raped, a male child or even a female child, what do we call that, and how does it ring to you?
It's well, it's something, you said that right now in the world rape is becoming a pandemic, or it's always been a pandemic. It's always ravaged our society, and what you just mentioned, and the lawyer would also agree with me that it's been in our society for years, whereby children, not just minors, will be relative to what jurisdiction you find yourself or what country, but people who are not of the age to give consent to sexual activity varies in different jurisdictions. So you call that statutory rape, whereby this particular client is not in a position to say, or is not by that jurisdiction deemed fit to say, I want to have sexual intercourse with this other individual, and in that regard, that's what we'll call it.
Okay. Let me get back to you, Doctor. Okay, still on this issue of children, because we have had cases where 4-year-old child is raped, even a 9-month-old child is raped, and all that. Does that carry the same weight of punishment with an adult that is also being raped?
Let me first of all clarify this issue of indecent dressing. It does not in any way
justify
limit the punishment that the law has set for a rapist, for a perpetrator.
Okay,
yes, it is not also a defense and can never be an excuse. That is the part I agree with him.
Okay.
But as for whether it is allowed, it is not allowed. Now, coming to your question, I'd like to first of all address what I call legislative complications as it relates to a legal framework on rape and sexual offenses. If you look at the section 30 of the Penal Code, it says that if a boy is 12 years old, the law says he is incapable of committing rape. But if you look at the contemporary issues in children development, you will find that children, a boy of 12 years can actually get a 9-year-old girl, overpower her, and rape her. Now the law is saying no offense has been committed. This is serious because in real terms, it is not realistic. Another issue is that the laws, the criminal code and the penal code agree that a girl of 14 years old and downwards from 14 down is incapable of exercising consent, has no capacity to say, I agree. Now, Section 282 sub 2, and if you read the entire section of the penal code, it allows a man to marry a child and have her as a wife if that child has attended the age of puberty. In other words, if the child is 12 years and has attained the age of puberty, this person is incapable by the same law to exercise consent. Meanwhile, the law is saying you cannot rape her because you are her husband. So if you look at this, that is what I call legislative complications. Even in the VAP Act, which has in section 43, I missed it last week, not 36, 37, it is 43 and 45 that I meant. Section 43 and 45, which talked about publication of registry, and particularly 45 that talks about the VAP Act superseding the penal code, the criminal code, the criminal procedure code. But when you look at that act, you find that that act, by combined effect of section 27 and 47 of that act, it is only applicable in Abuja, in FCT. So when you look at all these things, that's what I call legislative complication, because the drafters of the law, their intention is that other states should domesticate that law. But have we done this? No. So you see that we are still pulled back to the what I called last week analogous legal framework on this when it comes to application of legal framework on rape. So when you put all these issues in perspective, you find that the sentence may be the same in the analogous legal framework, but if it is under the VAP Act, anybody who committed rape is sentenced to life imprisonment. That is, if the person is convicted. However, if the offense is committed against a child, it's still the same thing. Possibly, maybe because the drafters of the law felt that no higher punishment could have been given other than sentence of death. So, but then another issue which I find quite difficult to appreciate and accommodate in the VAP Act is what I mentioned last week, where somebody commits incest and this person, there is consent, then it is 5 years imprisonment, or there is no consent. In other words, if a man of 80 years old, 82, 75, 56 or thereabout rapes a child of 9, 12, 14, even 4 years, 4 months, 6 months, then you say he should be sentenced to 10 years imprisonment simply because of the principle of consanguinity and affinity, because they are related. So I find all these as very critical issues we need to look at in the course of our legal development. That is why I call them legislative complications on the legal framework in rape.
I will get back to you, Doctor. you had all this thing.
I'm holding my breath because I think this is why when you see some people take to the streets, or some people are maybe very, would I say, passionate, I don't want to use the word violent, on our media platforms regarding the confines and the limitations of our rape laws, you start to see and try to understand. And could this also be engraved in the fact that we do live in a very male-dominated society? Could that be that the gender plays in our country and in the world, I wouldn't just say Nigeria, because this is a battle in a lot of countries. Do we say that a lot of the reasons why it takes so long, you talked about how it even took so long to get the VAP Act done, and then over 10 years, and you also talked about how this has still not been cascaded exactly in other states,
so it might not be applicable.
It might not be applicable, and it tells you that the laxity we have regarding these issues also tells us what kind of society we thrive in.
Doctor, you talked about male-dominated society, but I want to ask, maybe I should ask that to you. A man or a boy can also be raped.
Yes,
is it not possible?
That is very sure. And that brings me to the next issue I want to look at. You see, because of the fact that we have identified some lacunas some issues, some problems with our legislative framework, it tells us now that a fight against this menace is not just about legal framework. We should also look for other ways to address it. Now, if you are looking at the broad issue of rape, you have some prongs, some offshoots that you need to consider. You have the issue of, we have mentioned, for example, we've been discussing justice for the victim. There is preventive approach to the menace. There is sexual education and orientation of both male and female. And when I talk about that, I'm passionate about that, because all of us believe that when you want to talk about rape issues, sexual education, go to secondary school, go to universities. But I can assure you that majority of the people who are victims of rape are actually between 1 and 18. And if you check the percentage of marriages conducted over the world, between 50 to 62% are between 15 and 18. So you see that the people who we overlook are the major and the bulk of victims of rape. So we need to look at sexual education. We need to look at preventive approaches. We need to look at justice for the victim. We need to look at post-trauma management of the victim. We need to also look at rehabilitation of the perpetrator. Because it is not enough to put the person in prison and say for life imprisonment. You need to confirm, is this person medically sound? Does he have, has he been under drugs? Has he been frustrated or suffers dementia in some way? Is he suffering some sort of automatism or different reasons? Has it anything to do with traditional issues? Has it got to do with ritualism? When you find out what is or what are likely consequences or causal effects, then you know how to rehabilitate this person, so he does not become a dangerous rapist who becomes dangerous.
Because even in the prisons, he could start raping. There's a case that is very interesting. Although we're getting signal to end again, but just in Suleja here, a man who had been having sexual intercourse with his two daughters for 7 years. They started from 15 years, one was 13 years till 20 and 22 years now. Now, the law, I know the lawyer will have taken that, but what would you call that in medical? Was it psychological problem or what?
You see, like he rightly said, I am glad he said that, it will be very wrong to generalize every case and say that okay, this one is committing incest, what is the causal, what is the cause of this, and then we generalize it and say, oh, it's probably he has a mental issue or has some psychological derangement. But it could actually just be just who he is. It just be that there's no self-control. It could just be all of this. So it's very intentional. If you're talking about rehabilitation, you must handle each case on a case-by-case basis and find out, get to the root cause, what is happening. A lot of times it's also just because of our law. The law has failed us. So people are just able to say, you know what, nothing, I won't be punished, because a lot of us, even in the good book, what restricts us, what gives us that caution is the law. But without the law, the people just go haywire.
Okay, so sadly we must leave again, but I'm sure that we will cover some miles. I know I would like to continue this because it's very interesting and it's a thing of emotions. But one thing that still remains with us, we can't wish it off so easily now, it's an issue that COVID-19 is still with us, and as at 11:30 p.m. yesterday, we have the statistics. We have the figure of 15,181 confirmed cases. Yes, we have 4,891 discharged. Sadly, deaths, we still have 399 deaths, and it's still here with us.
Still here with us. It's still here with us, and we just, I remember where we started. Remember 1 February, and it was just one person, but look at what we're seeing right now, and I hope
it's sad, Doctor. The barrister that this thing is, but I think we'll have to talk more about this later on. It's a pleasure to have you in the program today. Until we come your way again next week, I'll say thanks for staying tuned and bye for now.